Hello, hello. Welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD with me, Renee Allen. I'm so glad you're here today. Today, I want to talk to you about how memory issues that come with ADHD can affect you, can affect your life, and just getting into that a little bit more. So, we talked about, if you listen to other episodes, how working memory is what's affected in the executive dysfunction that comes with ADHD, and that working memory isn't short-term memory, but it leads to short-term memory. There's a difference. Working memory is the actual processing of information, and they say nonverbal working memory. I don't know why they call it nonverbal. Sometimes that makes sense to me and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just going to call it working memory. But you're taking some information and you're having to compute it so that you can act on it. You can do something with it. It's not just, can you memorize this number? It's on July 12th, you need to be here at 8 o'clock. So you actually have an assignment with that information. And it's the ability or inability to act upon that information or even remember, store it somewhere so you have that information. And what's interesting is long-term memory can be affected with ADHD, but it doesn't mean memories from the past, from last year or 10 years ago or 20, however old you are. It it's more like 2 hours ago, long memory, because short-term memory doesn't even go that long. So it's just kind of interesting. So memories that you form a few hours ago are already part of your long-term memory. And scientists are still studying the link between ADHD and long-term memory, but currently they're finding, and you can probably see too, that something that you learned that you needed to do 2 hours ago or this morning, and it's already afternoon, you could have not encoded that information properly, and it's already gone from your brain, or it never stayed in there and it didn't make it into long-term memory to have that information available to you, right? And it's interesting because they describe it as ADHD brand tends to process information in a disorganized manner. That's kind of a fun picture, huh? So it processes the information in a disorganized manner, and it makes it harder for that information to be moved and stored in long-term memory. And then also, we know that when you have ADHD, you can easily get distracted. So you may not visit that information long enough for it to be moved to long-term memory. You aren't processing it because it's starting to go into your brain, but maybe another thought comes up or the next thing you do comes up and interferes with that process happening. And I would imagine if you're like me, you see that happen all the time. It can be your own information that comes in. So it doesn't have to be somebody else tells you to do something or you have an appointment or something like that. It could be you're in one room of your house and you're starting to read something. You decide, I'm going to get on my computer or I'm going to pick up this mail, and the type is really small. And let's say you have reading glasses and you don't have any reading glasses in the room that you're in. So the information that comes into your brain is, I need to go grab some reading glasses. So that information came from you. And for that working memory to do what it's supposed to go into a short-term memory bank that stays there long enough for you to walk in the other room, get your reading glasses, come back and read that piece of mail. And you go in the other room, you get distracted. It could even be your own thoughts, but a lot of times it's visual because we tend to have all these ideas associated with what we see. So you see something else and you think, oh, I didn't make my bed today. I think I'll make up my bed. Or somebody else is in that other room and you start talking to them. Or you think, oh, I think I'll go to the bathroom. You don't even remember why you're in that room and you go in the bathroom and then you think, oh, we need more toilet paper. I'm going to go in the other room, get more toilet paper. You completely forget about the glasses and you forget about the mail. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that wasn't urgent. But if you were cooking something and you wanted the glasses to look at the recipe closer and you leave, that could be a problem. And that happens to me often. It's probably good that I don't cook as often, but I was making corn on the cob the other day. Well, this is funny because it goes along with the memory loss, but before Father's Day, corn on the cob was on sale, 5 ears for $1. So I bought 10 because I don't want to just buy seven and have them, computed. I need, in my mind, I need it to be pretty. I need it to be like 5 or 10. I don't know if you do this, like when I have eggs, a dozen eggs, if I take out 2 or 4, I don't just take them out from one end. I take them out symmetrically, like, take up 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the carton is evenly balanced, right? If someone picks it up, it doesn't weigh more on one side. But if I need to take out 6, I'll do 3 and 3, but make it the opposite 3 so it looks pretty, you know, like a shape, like a shape that looks right. So I don't know if you do things like that, but back to the corn. So I bought the corn and I had too many to fit in the fridge in our kitchen. And we have a second fridge in our laundry room, which is a pretty big laundry room. It's like a size of a bedroom or something. Anyway, so I put the corn in there and I have produce drawers in that fridge that are pretty big. But the problem is I put stuff in there and I completely forget about it because it's not visual at all. It's just completely lost. And because the corn was heavy and it was breaking through the plastic shopping bags, I put, or, bags that they have, I put that inside of a paper bag. And so then you really can't see the corn. So I thought, okay, I'm going to appeal to my brain that needs to see it, or I'm going to forget that I bought this corn because raise your hand if you've ever bought vegetables, anything that you put in the fridge and you forget about it, and then it goes rotten and you throw it away. What a waste of money, right? Story of my life. But so I thought, okay, I'm working with the brain that I have. I'm going to put most of the corn in that drawer because that's what this fridge has room for. But I'm going to take maybe 2 ears of corn and put it on the bottom shelf so I see it when I open the fridge over and over to get other things. And I still forgot about it on Father's Day. I, I don't know. I think I forgot that it was for Father's Day. So we had our Father's Day meal, which also was affected by my memory because I bought a roast beef because my husband likes roast beef. His mom used to make it a lot when he was growing up, and that is easy for me. I know how to put it in a crock pot, and it's nice because with roast beef, the longer you cook it, the better it is. So you really can't mess up unless you don't have enough time. So I bought it early enough that it needed to be frozen, and it wasn't cheap. It was like $25, but I bought it early enough that I needed to freeze it. So I froze it, and the day before, I thought you could defrost it in the fridge. That's what they say to do. But what if it's not really defrosted? Maybe I waited, I should have done it 2 days before. So I've seen my daughters do this defrosting thing with water, like you have the water dripping in it and the chicken sitting inside or things like that. And I've never looked into it to see how they do it or why. But then another one of my daughters doesn't do the dripping waters. She just puts it in water. And I thought, well, that must be okay too. So I put the roast beef in a bowl of water and thought I'll check it every once in a while. And I was going to do it for a couple hours. But of course, I got distracted. And by the time I saw it, the water was cool, but it wasn't as cold as it was in the fridge. And to me, it should have been as cold as it was in the fridge. So I put it in the fridge and I, did a little Google research then and thought, no, I do not feel good about that. We're going to get food poisoning. I have to throw that away, which I still haven't. It's in my fridge. I need to throw it away, but I didn't use it. And I had to make chicken instead. I had chicken. So I defrosted that. I looked and did that the right way. But I stressed about that because I didn't have the ingredients to make chicken the way that I have in the past. Didn't want to go to the store to buy more. So I spent hours instead looking through every cookbook, looking at who knows how many food blogs, and then not deciding on any of them, but making a combination that made sense in my mind and then hoped for the best. And it was actually really good. It was actually really good. But yeah, that's a little insight into my brain because I have a hard time making new recipes. I rethink them. It's all that indecisiveness. But back to the memory thing. So the corn on the cob. Yeah. So the roast beef was a working memory issue. The corn on the cob not being used right away was a memory issue. And then when my three of my little grandchildren were over the other day, they were wanting, to eat this or this or this. And I I said, what if we just make some corn on the cob? Because I had 10 ears of corn on the cob. And they all seemed to think that would be fun. So I thought, I'm just going to cook all of it because my husband and one of my sons lives with us. I thought, I'll just make all this corn and between us all, we'll eat it. And so my 5-year-old granddaughter thought, this is so fun. I'm going to be your helper. And so she came and I got the trash can down to her level. And, we sat there and shucked the corn and I rinsed it off. I broke them in half. I have those little green things that you put on the ends that screw in, to have handles, I guess they're called, so that it wouldn't burn their little hands, and I'd cook them that way. So I put all the corn in this big pot, put a lid on it, cooked it on high, told her she couldn't stand on a stool to watch because it was a flame. I was aware all this was happening and I don't remember how long it's supposed to boil. Sometimes I don't like to look into stuff, but I thought I'll just eyeball it, ball it probably like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I don't know. And I'll just watch it. And if it gets too bubbly, then I'll turn it down, take the lid off or whatever. But I kept the lid on at first just to get it hotter because there was so much water in there. And probably just went in the other room, through my bedroom into my bathroom to go in the bathroom. I don't remember why I went in there, but once I went in there, I think I started putting away some makeup that I had out, and I don't know, I just started doing some organizing. And then I was in my room and I opened my laptop and thought, oh, the grandchildren are fine. I'll look at my email. Yeah, I had no idea I was cooking corn. And thankfully, there were other adults in the house, right? But yeah, my son, I heard him say, "Mom," and he's an adult, so it wasn't like he was a younger person was in there, but I heard him saying, "Oh," or something like that. And so I thought maybe one of the children had fallen off a chair. Sometimes they climb on the furniture, whatever. So I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Your corn's bubbling over." And I thought, "Oh my goodness." You know, the last how many minutes was involved in getting the corn out of the fridge, shucking the corn, rinsing it off, you know, tying up the trash because it was too full. There was all this processing of what I was doing to finding the pot, all those things that have added in to the experience, right? I had witnessed that experience. I knew all of that was happening. And the last bit of information that went into my brain was this is going to cook for this amount. You're going to check it and then you'll turn it down. And I forgot. I forgot because there was some kind of glitch in my working memory that didn't keep that information there long enough for me to act on it. I forgot. I forgot. And that's what we say, I forgot. So it's part of memory, right? It feels like we didn't forget because it does feel like we forgot, but it's like I knew, but for some reason it didn't stay. It should have stayed, and it didn't. And I went in there and turned it down. It didn't boil over, so it was all good. And then I set a timer in the kitchen because I knew enough people were there that if I walked out of the room for some reason, my husband and my son don't like the sound of the timer. And instead of just going over and turn it off, they'll tell me, Mom, The timer's ringing because they know that I need it for some reason. It's not that they don't want to take care of it. They just know I need that information. So that's helpful. That's helpful. But yeah, it's a thing. Memory loss can be short term or long term with ADHD. And I would think that long term memory starts actually before I looked into this at all. I would think long term memory starts, I don't know, maybe from at least a day ago or longer. And then I thought before looking into it and realizing short term memory is shorter than that, maybe it's an hour or two. No, short term memory is anything within 30 seconds. Anything past 30 seconds is long term memory function. So if you need to act on something, usually it's a long term memory thing, I would think. I guess if you think of short term memory as being anything that you have to retain for a very short amount of time, and usually we do that to act upon it, right? So if somebody says, my phone number is this, and you're putting it in your phone in the contact information, you're retaining that information maybe just for a second or two while they tell you that number, and then you write it down. Or if you're trying to get on some channel, some new Major League Baseball channel or something, and it gives you a 5-digit code to put on your computer or your phone while you're trying to get it to connect. I don't know. You know how they always have those things, and it's always different for every channel. But if you're trying to just take that information, K496Z5 or whatever, and take that information and quickly put it into another form, act upon it, you're using your working memory, and it's only in your brain for a short amount of time. And I don't know, maybe with ADHD, it's more possible to do that with short term than long term. Because I would think if we're doing it, we're thinking, we're recognizing right away that we're not retaining it, right? Like if you're reading something, and I do this a lot, or even listening to something, listening to an audiobook, and you're listening for a bit and you're processing that information, you're thinking, oh, and then you realize, oh, I'm not processing it anymore. I wasn't listening. That's actually a recognition that you were distracted or something. And you could even do that if somebody said, my name is Teresa, and you said, oh, okay. And then you realize I didn't hear her name, or I heard it and I didn't process it. And then you say, well, wait, what did you say your name was? Teresa. And you still might not process it and have it there for later unless you really work on it. Write it down. Sometimes I write names down, especially like teaching yoga and stuff. I'll meet someone and I'll think I'll remember their name because I have a friend named Teresa, and I don't really have a friend named Teresa that I can think of. I'm just using this as, an example. But even making up a little story with their name doesn't always help me. If I go home and write it down, or just write it in my phone, new people in class, write it down, I'll look at it later and I'll think, I am so glad that I wrote that down. And when I used to teach the firefighters, it was really important for me to know their names. And it was hard because sometimes there would be maybe like 3 mics at one department or something. And there's 3 different shifts. So you have shift A, shift B, shift C, and trying to learn their names. And it was funny because the other Fireflex yoga teachers, some of them said, I don't worry about their names. I just, say hi to them. I can't remember all their names, but it meant something to me. It was important to me. So I would go home. I'd have them sign up because they had to sign their name on a paper. Unless I got to know them better, then I could just write their names down. But I was supposed to record who was there each time. So I would go home and go on Facebook and see if I could find him on there. Do a little searching and see if I could see, oh, there he is with his wife and his dog, or something. And seeing their face, their situation helped me a lot to learn. We need some kind of a story, something that we can grasp to help remember things sometimes for sure. So, what researchers say links ADHD to working memory deficiency. is lack of focus, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Lack of focus, completely attached to distractions, right? Getting distracted by who knows what leads to that lack of focus. Hyperactivity may be something in our bodies. If any of you have the hyperactive component of ADHD, I do. I have both, inattentive and hyperactive. So if you have that hyperactive, that body that all I can think of is it gets antsy, it gets crazy inside. You need to do something with that energy, and your own body becomes your distraction. And then being impulsive. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I think they're all interrelated, but being impulsive, I don't know, to me is also attached to that hyperactive body, right? Needing to do something movement wise, and then just not being able to help yourself. I don't know. I don't know. I have to think about that one more. I don't know why they would link impulsivity to it, but you might realize that, and I probably will in about an hour if I think about it more. But yeah, it's just figuring out how does this affect our memory. It's interesting to do it. It causes us to forget all kinds of things, paying a bill on time, getting something done at home, following instructions in the right order, or even remembering half the steps. And when I first learned about this, obviously I didn't know how I had ADHD at all, but one of my friends told me that she had to tell her husband just one thing because he had ADD. This is like 10 years ago. She said, "My husband has ADD. He didn't want to stay medicated. I guess he had medication when he was younger and he didn't like that. So he just worked with what he had." So she would know that if he was bringing one of their boys to meet her with the other boys, there was a good chance that son might still be in his pajamas or wouldn't have his shoes on or something, because if she told him, make sure this, he would probably only remember one of them. And they were an easygoing family that could laugh about things like that. But if you think about yourself, you might do that too. You might have multiple things you want to remember and you're forgetting a few of them. And you could also lack attention to detail. That's me. I knew I could never be a doctor. I could never be a surgeon because I can't pay attention to all those details. I would not be able to do them. I would make careless mistakes, and that would not be the career for me. That's not a good career choice because I would not be able to remember all those things. It also affects losing things, remembering somebody's birthday. Maybe you remembered it was their birthday all week long, but on Friday, on the actual day, you forgot. Or you thought about it when you didn't have your phone with you, you couldn't call or text. And then when you did have your phone with you, just all those kinds of things that it's hard to keep track of. Last thing I want to mention, because I thought, okay, if we've got memory problems when we have ADHD, is that associated with dementia in any way? So I looked it up, and this is what I read. ADHD, this is from ADD.org. ADHD can also mimic dementia, another condition that affects memory, but they are different and they have different symptoms and have different reasons for happening. It says dementia alters a person's ability to recall information that they used to be able to remember. So that would be long-term memory. It is already stored there, and it might be things that involved what they do daily, not just a story from when they were young, right? It could just be they don't remember how to walk in their neighborhood anymore and get back home. It's that kind of thing. So they've had information that used to be in their brain and they could recall it, and now they can't. With ADHD, it makes it harder for the brain to take new information and imprint it in the brain due to lack of focus, distractions, impulsivity, hyperactivity, right? So adults with ADHD tend to lose things more, forget instructions, not even remember that they were given the instruction. I don't know if you've ever done that. Yeah, it's kind of like I don't even remember that I knew that. So last Christmas, I was at church one Sunday, and I barely remember this. A woman came to me and she said, I have a gift for your daughter-in-law. And it was in a brown paper bag, just like a grocery store brown paper bag. And inside of that was a gift bag with a handle and cute tissue paper and stuff. I have such a tiny memory of that. And she gave it to me. I teach the music to the children at church. So at that time, I couldn't focus on her or that present. I was thinking, I need to be up there in a few seconds to teach music to about 25 children. And I love doing it because I can spot the children with ADHD or tendencies like that. And I have so much fun with them. So I took the bag and I moved it over by my purse. But mind you, it was a brown paper bag, kind of wrinkly and stuff. It didn't look like a gift bag at that point because the gift bag was inside. So I put it there because my daughter-in-law wasn't there that Sunday. And then maybe a week later, 5 days later, something like that, my son and daughter-in-law, my grandchildren, went to California for Christmas. So they were gone and weren't here for Christmas or anything. So they came over to our house right before. I think we were going to do presents, but some of them were sick. So I just gave a couple presents to whoever was there. We did the rest later. I think that's what we did. But after they came back, so this is after New Year's, so probably 3 weeks have gone by. This woman texts me and she said, did you give the gift to Kaylee? And I thought, what gift? What gift? And I said, did you give me a gift for her? And she said, yeah, I gave it to you at church. And I thought, I have no memory. I have no memory of that even happening. And so I'm writing to Kaylee and I said, did you get something? Did I give you something? Because maybe I didn't have it long enough to even remember. Like maybe I dropped it off at her house on the way home. And it was troubling me because I was, because then you start going on this whole research, this whole what happened, what was the story there? I looked through old texts, I hyper focused. I went down the rabbit hole trying to feel so much guilt and blah 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 blah. And she had something in there that Kaylee could use for something. I don't know. And so the woman wanted her to have it. It wasn't just like this is some soap and a candle or something. And and I thought, well, if I did bring it home, I probably took it out of the bag. I probably put it behind the tree. Did I give it to you? Anyway, I think what happened is I just left the bag there because it was a brown paper bag and I just didn't see it again. It went into my brain for half a second. It didn't process to you have a gift, you have something to bring home, you have something to text your daughter-in-law. Nothing. And I felt super bad. And of course, I was apologetic. And the woman's just like, like she was super nice about it. But she, I think she actually was bugged that I kept saying, I'm so sorry. She said, I don't want you to think about it anymore. I don't want you to trouble yourself. 'Cause she was probably silently saying, I don't need you to text me about this anymore. She was really nice. She was a lot older than me. But anyway, yeah, it can even make us forget something even happened, I think. That information was even there for a fraction of a second. Yeah, crazy stuff. Yay for having ADHD, right? So I think that's going to be it for today. One of these days, I think I'm going to do an episode about not just hyper focus, but focusing on things that probably don't really matter to anybody else but you. Do you ever do that? That's what I'm doing today when I'm making when I'm making this episode because it's 8 o'clock a.m. on the morning that I'm supposed to fly away. I still haven't packed. I need to leave here at noon. I can probably pack. I have the laundry done and stuff, but I still want to dye my roots. There's still different things that I want to do, but was hoping to have 2 episodes publish each day while I'm gone. And yesterday I made enough for all but one. And I thought that's okay. It's okay. No one's going to care if you just post one the week of the 4th of July. And I thought, no, I want to do it. I can do it. So here I am. doing something that may not matter to anybody else but me. It's a self-inflicted goal. Do you ever have self-inflicted goals that you realize no one else is telling you that you have to do, but you have that desire, you have that drive. So I hope you're glad I did this today. I'm glad I did this today. I think it really just takes that out of your brain, because if you have that in your mind of I want to do that, that's actually a distraction. That was a distraction from me being able to pack yesterday's. I want to record more episodes. And then last night, okay, I got to record one more and didn't have time last night. So here I am. But ta-da, ta-da. At the end of this podcast, thank you so much for being here. Look for my 5-day focus challenge. If you haven't seen it yet, if you haven't signed up for it yet, this podcast will post right before that. I'm going to be back from my trip on July 11th, and I'm going to start the first challenge on July 15th. So go to my website, click to sign up for the challenge. It's free. It's free. It's 5 days, an email each day with a task, a little video that explains, and it just walks you through some steps that can help you manage distractions, minimize distractions, recognize distractions, all those things that you need to do to focus better, and doing it in a gradual way, a systematic way, and with others can be super helpful. So I hope you do that with me. It's at my website, reneeallen.com, with a dash or a hyphen between Renee and Allen. But thanks so much for being here. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.